Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I am your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and the vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz, who is also the I was going to say chair, but also the host of his own show, The Rational Egoists, a show that you should all be watching by now. If you're not, then you should be thrown in jail. I'm kidding. That's something Trump would say. And I don't want to be like Trump. So is there anything new and interesting happening on The Rational Egoist? There usually is.
Well, my interview with Dr. Megan Ribbons is out on induction in biology, motherhood. It's fantastic. Megan's absolutely wonderful. I recommend everybody listen to it. It's a really good interview. She's very good at presenting herself and her positions. I think it's a great interview. Check it out. I think she might be in the audience too. She sometimes comes and joins the audience.
Let's hope so. She's a great audience member.
There she is. She's right there.
Well done. I can't wait to see the episode. Well, today, of course, I have to do my daily disclaimer, which is that Michael and I are speaking on our own behalf. We're speaking our own feelings about the current events that we're going to talk about. They do not necessarily represent the American Capitalist Party's point of view. For that, you go to americancapitalistparty.org and you read our policy positions. They are well thought out, well considered, and I think you will like them. And as a matter of fact, I think you will subscribe, you'll donate, you'll join, you'll become a part of the change. In the meantime, also like and subscribe here, and remember to share from YouTube to other platforms too, so that the algorithm likes us and we get this messaging out to the world that capitalism, the only economic system that respects the rights of the individual, is the only moral system out there in the world today. Kat Sterling says, but nobody give Mark another book to read until he reads Michael's. Yeah, okay, so I can see what kind of day this is going to be for me. And who's controlling these quotes anyway? Who's controlling the quotes? What quotes gets up there?
I control that.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, Mark must read View from a Cage, best book of all time. Now, let me ask you something real quick, Michael. Did you read Arthur Miller's View from a Bridge, and did you take the View from a Bridge?
No, I did not. I actually, Todd Feinberg, my friend, helped me come up with the title when I was incarcerated. I've never heard View from a Bridge. Never heard of it.
You've never heard of it?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of Death of a Salesman. I've heard of The Crucible. I've never heard of View from a Bridge that you just said.
Time for you to read.
Let me tell you, I'm very foggy today. I've got sick brain fog today.
Why?
Because the lack of sleep is catching up. I think I have I might have some sort of a sleep disorder because nothing works at this point. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. I'm not taking, barbiturates, but nothing I've done with the sleep. I get 4 hours. I wake up. I'm able to get back to sleep a few hours later and I'm in a fog. And now I have this thing where Jim Valiant, he evidently is having sleep problems. So he decides to message me, so when I wake up and I look at my phone, I've got Jim and then I get back and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, sleep problems is an issue with getting older, Michael. So that's probably what's happening to you. There is an app that you can get that actually monitors your sleep, and it actually records everything that goes on while you
really.
Yes, and it's fairly accurate. So it will record something. It'll understand that it's outside noise or animal noise. It will record flatulence. So you will actually record
nice
when and if you are breaking wind at night, and
awesome.
It'll record your sleep cycle and snoring, and it'll
Mark, that people take the show and make their own clips out of context. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to have you on tape out there saying it'll record your farts or your flatulence or whatever.
I'm just trying to help you sleep, man. All I'm trying to do is help you sleep. Well, it also records your snoring, and it'll compare your snoring time to other people's snoring time, and it'll guesstimate how often your sleep apnea is probably waking you up in the middle of the night. So you might have sleep apnea and not know it.
Well, I think, I don't know. Kira Felix says Michael wants us to make clips. Oh, I absolutely do. Make all the clips you want. I don't know. You have my permission. I think Mark
Felix, don't give the Kira Felix that permission.
Why?
Because I just can tell where it's going to go.
But that promotes us either way.
All right.
Look at this. This is a great idea. Look at this one here. Capitalist quarter out of context. Like, that's great to have that kind of thing.
Okay, Persephone. Now we know why you went to hell. Look.
Oh, man.
Well, that's what happened to Persephone. Persephone was dragged down to Hades.
Well, you know your Greek mythology certainly better than I do. You know who really knows a lot about
Jim Valiant, because he knows a lot about everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So look at this. I don't know if you want me to put this up there. I don't know. The Ayn Rand fan club says, don't talk about it if you don't want to. I don't know if I should even talk. Do you want me to talk about this? Do you see it?
I don't see it.
Just...
Go ahead. Don't talk about it if you don't want to, but
I want you to see it before I talk about it. It's from the Ayn Rand fan club. Just read it to yourself. It's objectivist news. It's not really political news.
Okay, good. So yeah, so it's good news.
It's good news for some, not so good for others. Did you see it?
Good news for the people that we like it to be good news for.
Okay, so do you want me to read it or no?
Sure.
All right. From the Ayn Rand fan club, he says, don't talk about it if you don't want to. Well, that horse has left the barn. But the audio call of Leonard and Kira was released, and it's pretty exonerating for James and Leonard. And that, of course, is referring to James Stevens' valiant Ayn Rand fan club post where people can see it if you want to. Okay.
Yeah, that's inside baseball, objectivist baseball, but
there's a lot of objectivists in the chat. I don't know. Whatever.
Objectivists, old objectivists, new objectivists, everybody coming to the philosophy as they should, because it's a good one. You sent me a ton of articles again, dude. I got to.
No, I did not. See, and I actually made a post this morning that said 2 things I hate are bullshit and excuses, and that definitely qualifies as the first, because there was such a dearth of articles this morning.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 articles.
Yeah, what do I normally send?
Between 8 and 10 articles.
No, I normally send more than that. No, that's codswallop.
That's not codswallop. You just learned this word like 3 weeks ago, and now you're using it every time we have a show.
It's an important word.
Okay, I disagree with you on there, but look, some of these, many of these articles are related, so that did help quite a bit. And some of them were audio, so that I could do 2 things at one time, so I could actually listen to the article while I had to get all my morning stuff done. The first article that you sent me was very troubling, of course, because it, of course, shows Donald Trump in his typical adolescent posture, something that's scary. He doesn't seem to understand what the power of the presidency means, and that when he says and does things under the mantle of the power of the president, that it's very chilling to the rest of us. And so apparently he posted an AI video of Obama's arrest with "No one is above the law" as sort of the thematic element to it. Now, what do you think of this? It was apparently highly produced. It showed a bunch of people, a bunch of Democrats talking about no one being above the law as they were in the midst of attempting to prosecute Donald Trump for various crimes. And now it shows, because of what Tulsi Gabbard has come out with, which we will be discussing in a moment, that potentially Obama is enmeshed in this massive conspiracy, and it's time now for the piper to be paid. What do you think?
Don't jump the gun. We'll get to that in a minute. But what I think of the post from Trump is this: assuming that everything is accurate, that Obama was fully in a conspiracy, that all these guys are in a conspiracy. This is not the type of thing for the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, to be joking about. It's serious business, right? But par for the course, the carnival barker that he is, and this is what he does. This is what his base eats up. So that's what they're going to do. But I think it's reprehensible in the same way, by the way, like if there's a prosecutor that's doing a case, if he were to post something like that on the web, he'd be dismissed. He might be disbarred, but somehow it's the president of the United States and it's okay. The guy who is the boss of the Justice Department, I don't dig it.
Very unpresidential, very scary, and it sends a chilling message to anyone who is a political dissenter. And it feeds the narrative that the left is claiming. It lends truth to it, to anyone who is a lover of liberty, that this guy, one, does not respect the Constitution, two, is perfectly willing to overstep the bounds of his executive power to get revenge on people. Now, when he was in the midst of being elected, Democrats were fearful of the fact that he would try to retaliate and weaponize the system against the Democrats in the same way that they weaponized it against him. Turns out to be a legitimate concern, because that's precisely what's happening now. Now, whether the Democrats were right in doing it or not, I believe is a mixed bag of tricks and a very complicated issue. But he's certainly overtly and without any attempt to hide his intentions going after political opponents now in a way that should make everyone afraid, including the people in the MAGA movement.
They're cheering it on, though. Many of them. They're demanding arrests.
There's something that one of the Democrats said with respect to what Tulsi Gabbard has revealed on Fox News, which is the reason for this.
Okay, 1 second. I want to put something up that Jim put here. Jim says Obama publicly opined on cases, but it's dead wrong in both cases. I remember when Henry Louis Gates, when the situation happened, he was trying to get into his house and there was a big deal with the cops. And Obama came out and said the police obviously behaved stupidly. And he said that before he had the facts, right? And I remember at the time saying that's ridiculous. He should not be doing that. Right. So Jim is correct in his assessment. And Race pointed out Kamala doing it. It's wrong when any of them do it.
Yeah, many politicians, particularly over the last 8 years, have been opining openly on cases, including attempting to pressure Supreme Court justices to get the decisions that they want. I mean, Chuck Schumer himself has gone out and agitated against Supreme Court decisions before they're made in an attempt to bring pressure upon the Supreme Court justices. So everybody is guilty of this stuff. That certainly doesn't make it right. But are they guilty to this degree? I mean, making an AI video showing the former president of the United States being put in handcuffs in the White House. Do they make jokes of it? No. I mean, it's wrong. Maxine Waters is wrong for inciting violence the way she does against political opposition. She should be censured. I don't know if she has been or not, but she should be. And any time a politician uses their position of political power to opine on cases they know nothing about, knowing that it's going to be divisive, knowing that it's going to be harmful to their constituents, there should be some form of retributive action against them. But Trump takes it to a whole new level of circus dynamics. I mean, this is just WWF or WWE on crack. It's not even politics anymore. It feels like, as you said, he's like a carnival barker. Except he's in the office of the presidency, the most powerful person in the world. Very dangerous to have a carnival barker in the office of the presidency. So we get to the reason for all of this now, and this is Tulsi Gabbard's revelations on Fox News, that there was basically a conspiracy between several people in the intelligence community that went all the way up to Joe Biden and Barack Obama to derail the presidency post-election. Now, I've caught this conspiracy for many, many, many years, right? When Crossfire Hurricane was initiated during the Trump campaign, it was initiated based on the Steele dossier, which turned out to be sort of fraudulent. And they got FISA warrants in order to bug many of Trump's compatriots within the campaign to try to get dirt on these guys. And they got—
Was it many or was it one?
I thought it was more than one. I thought it was more than what's his name? I'm having a senior moment right now.
Carter Page.
Carter Page. Yeah, I thought it was more than Carter Page.
It might be. I'm stuttering, but what I'm going to do here is just tell, when we discuss this, what I know, which this is not something I've done a deep dive on, but Ian Gilmore says what I was thinking. The CIA conclusions didn't rely on the Steele dossier. And at the time, I remember them saying that the Steele dossier wasn't the reason that they did all this. It was part of—
But I thought the Steele dossier was part of the reason.
It was part It was part of it, but it was by no means the deciding factor.
But a legal question, I think, to James Valiant and the audience is: if the Steele dossier was fake and was part of the reason they secured FISA warrants, does that make the FISA warrants inapplicable? Does that make them illegal? Because
but that's a different question, Mark. That's not a question of whether there's this conspiracy.
No, I know, but this is the beginning. I mean, this is sort of the beginning. Crossfire Hurricane and the investigation of the Trump campaign and their level of engagement with Russia and the bots that were being produced and the attempts at sabotaging the election. All of this stuff starts there. It starts there with the decision of Obama and Biden to initiate this investigation called Crossfire Hurricane. Does it not?
Crossfire Hurricane.
Right.
What I'm saying is that that's not all dependent on the Steele dossier.
Right. But the FISA warrants in part were, and I'm wondering if that invalidates the FISA warrant. That's another issue, but we'll talk about that at some other time. Later, this evolves into a full-fledged investigation that pretty much lasts almost the entire presidency of Trump until they are able to secure impeachments on him for various things. But it largely occupies the news. And of course, the right side said it was a collusion hoax. Of course, that's what Trump says. You can't believe anything Trump says. The intelligence community, of course, said, well, there indeed was an attempt on the part of Russia to tilt the election in favor of Trump by using bots and misinformation and by stealing emails and leaking emails from the DNC in an attempt to influence the tenor of the election. And there were various meetings between Trump subordinates and people in Russia people within these Russian organizations that seem suspect. Even though the investigations turned up nothing inconclusive, it couldn't completely invalidate. It couldn't completely validate one way or the other. But now Tulsi Gabbard comes out at a very suspicious time, I might add. Wait,
hold on to that. There's so much here. I want to stay focused on.
Let's stay focused there then.
Okay, so this is what the article in Fox News says, right? And this is important because this is what I've noticed. Now, if somebody knows of additional information, because I've been asking for it and nobody's provided it. This is what it says. It says documents shared by Gabbard's office claim that before the 2016 election, there was no evidence showing Russia tried to directly alter vote counts. However, members of the intelligence community later suggested that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help Trump win. Okay. There's no contradiction there. And there's no contradiction with what's come out. It's from what I remember, nobody was claiming at the time, nobody in the Obama administration anyways, was claiming that Putin was directly trying to alter vote counts or had altered vote counts. And then they said there's no evidence showing they tried to alter vote counts. Then it says, but later on they suggested Putin wanted to help Trump win. Wanting to help Trump win is not the same thing as altering vote counts. Correct. So they're conflating the two things. At the time, I remember this going back, that they kept saying Russia interfered, but it did not impact the election. What happened is that Trump got his knickers in a twist because he can't stand the idea that someone would suggest that he didn't just win. So he kept fighting it, saying, no, they didn't try. It was similar to when he lost the popular vote and he couldn't handle that. So then he tried to claim that was a fraud, that he actually, he probably won the popular vote. Now, if anybody, and I've asked people on Facebook, on Twitter, if anybody in this audience has proof from what Tulsi released, because I by no means read it all, although Hody Johns claims to have read it all and said there's nothing here. So, take that for what it's worth. But if anybody in the audience has anything that suggests that there's new information out, that there was this big conspiracy to change the intelligence findings after the 2016 election, please share it.
So, conspiracy theories seem to be popular nowadays. I mean, they used to be a fringe element of society, but now they are everywhere. The right has their own particular conspiracies. The left has their own particular conspiracies. Akira Felix says Hillary Clinton did, and so many Democrats did what?
Opine on that. They claimed that the Russians interfered. The Russians helped.
They did. Indeed, they did.
That's not relevant.
Right.
Yes, but it's not relevant to whether the Obama administration did. It's not relevant to whether the people that had a legal duty in these cases did. That's what's relevant, and that's what I'm looking for.
Now, do you think it that the Crossfire Hurricane investigation was justified?
I don't know.
Or
there were certainly
or bugging Carter Page, for example.
Look, listen, that stuff. I'm with Jim in that I'm not a fan of the FISA courts. Jim, commented on that previously. But look, it's a fact that Trump Jr. met with Russian agents. That's a fact. He met with Russians. That's not my opinion. It's a fact that Trump said, joking or not. And this is where the problem comes with the joking shit, is because you can always fall back on I was joking. But he did say WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. If you let more shit out or whatever. And he said Russians. I can't remember the exact quote, but basically, if you have more on Hillary, let us know about it. And then he
likes whatever works in his favor.
Right. Then there was the talking overtly about intelligence operations in front of, I think it was Sergei Lavrov from the Russians. So there certainly were indications. And then you combine that with the fact that the Russians were trying to interfere, that Trump never criticizes Putin. Now, I don't know if that stuff rises to the level of deserving an investigation, and I'm certainly not claiming the Democrats are above politicizing investigations. All I'm saying is that the new stuff released by Tulsi doesn't seem to be anything new to me, but I haven't read it all, so if somebody has it or somebody can post it, show it. But the fact that she said, well, we've got more coming, that's always something for me. There's more coming. Okay.
Precisely what Pam Bondi said with respect to the Epstein files, by the way. So it feels like this is timed exactly when MAGA is starting to rebel against Trump because of his promise to release the Epstein files.
Which is the other conspiracy that they fomented, right? That's the other conspiracy they fomented. And, not for nothing, Mark, right? But look, we had all these things. We're going to release the RFK files, the Martin Luther King Jr. files, the JFK files, the Epstein files. Okay, JFK files get released, nothing burger. RFK files get released, I haven't heard anything. Martin Luther King, they came out with some stuff about that we already knew that he was a philanderer or some such thing. They handed these files to all these influencers and whatnot and claimed they were the Epstein files, but there was nothing new there. Then they subsequently come out and say there's nothing. Now we have new files, and from what I've seen on this, the Russiagate stuff, from what I've seen, it's nothing new either. So this follows the playbook, and it also serves as a distraction from the fact that they did not release the Epstein stuff. Whether or not that's intentional, I don't know, but it certainly is suspicious.
Akira Felix is responding to Ian Gilmore here. He said, Democrats used to meet with both Nazis and communists. Now they meet with Hamastinians. Does that prove that they committed voter fraud? Absolutely.
No,
absolutely,
absolutely not. But it's certainly, it's certainly not good. You know what I mean? That they would do that. And by the way, I never from the beginning thought that Trump was colluding with Russians, and I can't stand the man. It just seemed like, why would he do that? Like, it just seemed so ridiculous that he would do that. But then again, remember when in public he said he took Russia's side over his own intelligence. When they said that they found that Russia interfered in the election, he said, well, I don't know why they would.
Look, I mean, the man is a man of impulse, and who knows what dictates. Well, I can say we do know what dictates anything he says at any given time. It's what makes him feel right. It just comes straight out of his impulses. And at the time, I think he had quite an affection for Putin for various reasons. How great would it be to live in the United States if our politicians all had integrity? That would be great. It would be fantastic. It wouldn't look like this today. And how is Subby's?
He's had some ups and downs, and just an hour or so ago, after not being able to sleep for days, he was feeling a little better, and he says, "I'm going to be getting some sleep." And now I'm in the next room, and you're getting me all wound up, so I'm hollering. So I've probably woke him up. Plus, I've got the washing machine going. It's a whole thing, but he seems to be feeling better.
Good. Drink plenty of water, Subby. Plenty of water. So look, you send me an article from the Jacobin, and I know you do this deliberately to make my morning awful. Okay, I know you do this. I know this is a purposeful thing. Now, the title of the article should make everyone pucker just a little bit. Of course, hold on. Let me read the article with my contacts in. So I have to bring the thing up here. Zohran Mamdani is right. We shouldn't have billionaires. Okay, now that's the beginning of the article. It goes downhill from there, folks. I did a little dive into something, though, because, of course, it makes claims that billionaires makes zero-sum claims that, of course, when wealth pools at the top, power pools at the top, less is left there for people at the bottom. Wages don't they don't rise with productivity. Of course, they've been stagnant. This is all, of course, due to the fact that billionaires are exponentially getting wealthier while the people in the lowest rungs are not. Not necessarily a true statistic, but a statistic they definitely like to cite all the time. And they claim that, of course, their wealth is not gained by producing values for anyone. Their wealth is gained by political power, being political insiders, and then once they acquire that wealth, they're able to pool more power in politics and get it. And of course, they use Elon Musk as an example because, of course, he became rich using subsidies. That's not necessarily the way the most get rich, but they also made analogies to the Gilded Age, a time before real regulation started in America, and attempted to claim that the New Deal was the Great Awakening. It was a time during which wealth was equalized, and these ostentatiously rich people weren't allowed to get ostentatiously rich. There was an 80% tax on wealth, which of course equalized everything. And it was, I guess, a glorious time in the life of America when we were much poorer than we are today. But when I did a little deep dive into the Basquiat's unseen part of this, what you see when you see somebody like Bezos is his 150 or 200 billion dollars. And you say, wow, that's a lot of money. That's more money than anyone should have. But then the unseen part is the $2.2 trillion in wealth he created in 2024 alone. $2.2 trillion. That made a lot of people rich. Not only did it make a lot of people rich, it made a lot of people on the bottom rungs of the economic scale more wealthy. Whether or not that translated into actual monetary wealth is a different thing. But they certainly were made better off. As I'll give you a perfect example. When I go to Europe, I live in a different economic. No, don't start that, because this has nothing to do with my a jet set life, which I do not lead. When I go to Europe, I live in a different economic strata than I do here, and the economic strata is lower. I live in a lower economic strata. The apartment spaces are smaller. They don't have air conditioning. They don't have modern conveniences that we have. As somebody wrote on social media recently that literally Europe is a third world country with better packaging. And it's like, it's sort of true. They simply do not have the conveniences that an American takes for granted. And if you watch a show, House Hunters, Worldwide House Hunters, or whatever it is, you'll find when American citizens go to Europe, they're always unpleasantly surprised by what they confront. Not only the expense of what they confront there, but how little, a few amenities exist for them within the house that they've just become accustomed to being in America. You just get accustomed to washers and dryers and two-car garages and television sets and, a minimum of 1,250 square feet of space. That is simply really that means you're highly wealthy if you're doing that in Europe. My point is that I'm made wealthier by the convenience that Amazon supplies to me. I'm made better off by the fact that its economy of scale can deliver to me products at a much cheaper price than, the mom and pop boutique store down the street, and that I don't have to leave my house in order to get that product. There's a lot of time that is now mine to do with as I choose because of what Bezos has created. Now, that's unseen. The time that I gain is unseen. The value that I get from the product is unseen. The way in which the product uplifts my life and makes me better is unseen to other people. What they see is the deficit in my bank account and the rise in his bank account, and they claim that is what wealth is. But go on, let me hear your perspective about this, because I only got halfway through the article before I threw up and I had to put the article away. Sorry.
Oh goodness. So there's so much here. So a couple years ago, there was an article from Mother Jones, the other leftist magazine, or one of the other leftist magazines, by their senior editor, Michael Mechanic, and he was complaining about generational wealth. So I reached out to him, and he and I debated this idea of generational wealth. People can go check it out. It did not go well for him because it was fallacious. But what he was claiming.
Anybody who debates you, does it go well for any of them?
Jim Valiant sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Jim Valiant and Dave Friedman. Yeah. David Friedman was a very tough debate for me. I think I got the best.
I still think you got the better of him. I think you got the better of him, to be honest with you. But James tapped you out.
No, James won a debate with me that you're not even privy to.
Tapped you out.
No, you're not even privy to the debate I'm talking about where James won.
I'm sure he tapped you out, though.
James has won debates with me off the air. The on-air debates I've had with James, anybody can go check them out. No, he did not tap me out. But let's get focused here. This Michael Mechanic guy, so I debated him and bested him. Now we've got the claims that are going on in this article about, billionaires. There's a few things. One is that they talk about, well, they didn't do it themselves because, they relied on infrastructure. They relied on roads, the internet, this, that, and the other thing. To me, that's the equivalent when they don't do it in New York, I don't think anymore. But when I was younger, I went to New York and they had the guys with the squeegees, and they come over and they wash your window and then demand money for the window washing that you didn't ask for. So because the government has been robbing people since the dawn of time to build roads and to build infrastructure and all this, now you come and tell me, oh, look, you benefited from what they've done. You owe them, right? That's the first level of bullshit that I can't stand.
Another part. Wait, you paused. Did you expect me to comment on that?
No. I paused because I was out of breath from talking so much. I know it's hard to believe, but sometimes I do talk so much I run out of breath.
Okay.
The other thing is that when they talk about things like, look, this is the period when there was the most growth. First of all, when the tax rate was 90%, look into it. Hardly anybody paid it, right? They got around it. So they're not actually paying 90% of their wealth. That's the first thing. But the other thing is that people would do well to look to the Austrian theory of methodology in economics, because they correctly point out that economics is not like the physical sciences. They're not like where you can run a test and hold all variables constant except for the ones that you wish to measure, the dependent and the independent variable. Right. So in economics, you basically have to do things psychologically. You have to do psychological experiments to figure out what's causing what. So to simply say this followed this, therefore it's caused by, it's the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. That's because something follows, it is because of. But that's not how you do economic analysis. But the main problem that I have with this is they assume a utilitarian altruism, right? Where what matters is the whole or the collective. And they say, oh, the arguments for capitalism are based on the idea that if somebody's a billionaire, everybody else benefits. No, that's not the strongest argument for capitalism, although I think the author of this article happens to be wrong. The point is that when people are free, they can succeed. The individuals are free to succeed, and they're not harming anybody else by doing so. The article doesn't touch the moral argument at all. Oh, well, they hint at it because they assume a morality, but they don't justify their claims, which would just make me use Ayn Rand's famous phrase, by what standard? Famous question. See, I am tired. By what standard? That's what I would ask them.
Exactly. That's the standard they assume. They assume the utilitarian standard, and they assume you to accept it, and they don't question it at all. And I think you're exactly right to say it's the moral essence of capitalism is not that all boats rise. It's that everyone is free to rise.
Yes,
free to rise. That means there's no force in in society. Force has been banned, and that's a good thing, folks. That's called rights.
Could you agree with me, Mark, that this article was codswallop?
Codswallop, absolute codswallop.
Absolute
In fact,
codswallop.
that should have been the title of it. Codswallop.
Absolute codswallop.
But people need to I think people need to understand that a little bit more, because I think they do the people who justify capitalism look at it through the utilitarian lens, right? That's the way Reagan justified it, right? The rising tide lifts all boats. That's the way all altruists try to justify altruism. Or one of the better ones, I think, was Walter Williams' perspective, which is, I serve others. The capitalist economy is one of service. I have to serve my fellow man, and for that service, I get paid a certificate, this thing called a dollar, which proves that I have served my fellow man. Well, what's truer in my opinion, is that what you have to do to live is to create values. And if you want to live in a society, you have to create values that are tradable and exchangeable with other people, values that they value more than the values they have themselves. And that's what makes the trader principle profitable for all. That's what makes me profit in the exchange of my $600 for my iPhone. That makes me a profit. I'm profiting too. It's a mutually beneficial exchange. But to the Jacobins, my bank account went down by $600, and that makes me that much more financially unequal to Bezos, when I have enriched myself by the trade. And I think those are the perspectives that we have to start putting out there in the world, so that people understand what capitalism really is and what it really isn't. Now, you had another article on Mamdani, but I didn't get to it, so you might want to talk about this a little more. Why the Democratic establishment is sort of keeping Mamdani at arm's length. I know he had a meeting with Booker just a few days ago, and apparently it was a very constructive meeting. However, you can call meetings between the political classmen of these types constructive. I don't know. Is it constructive because they were conspiring different ways of stealing what we have? Who knows? That's what they usually do in Congress. But he didn't leave with an endorsement from the man, which was something that he wanted. And it seems like a great many of the establishment are afraid of him, even though he represents, I think, the most philosophically consistent expression of the Democratic Party's position. Now, what say you with respect to what do you think is going to happen to the Democratic Party right now?
Okay, so first of all, when I send you these articles, I read through them all, but I read through them all, one after the other. So I often don't remember what's in them until you jog my memory with what's in the articles. When you don't actually read the article, but then bring it up, it makes it hard for it to jog my memory. But from what I remember of this article, the basic point is that the Democrats understand that having a socialist run in their ticket on their party is not a good look. So they're standoffish.
So they're concerned about optics, but philosophically.
Of course they're concerned about optics.
But philosophically, it's the Bernie Sanders, it's the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, and it's him and the squad, the members of the squad, who are the most consistent practitioners of this, altruistic ethic, this zero-sum game politicking that they like to play. And I see exactly why it's resonating with voters in the range from 18 to 24, because they feel the pinch of the problems that Mamdani is addressing, and they also are ideologically aligned with this point of view. So what do you think is going to happen to the Democratic Party as a result? Do you think they're going to moderate? Do you think they're going to kick the swing out? Do you think
never know? You never know what's going to happen, especially because there were times, I remember when Obama was running, where I heard it was the demise of the Republican Party. The Republican Party was done. That was it. They were over with. And within a couple of years, they're right back. And, I think it's probably the same thing is going to happen here. They may retool. They may come out with some new talking points, but it'll all basically be the same stuff. That's my prediction, but I ultimately don't know. I do find it interesting that you've got in this race, the guy who won for the Democrats, this Mamdani guy. But then you've also got Eric Adams, who's the mayor. He's running. And that would, it seem to me, give them the best chance that they had of the Democrats of actually having a Democrat win the race. But what happens? Cuomo, he decides he has to run as an independent after getting smoked in the primary. It reminds me of during the 2016 primaries, when at the moment in time when it was still showing that Ted Cruz could beat Trump one-on-one. Right. And they were heading to, they hadn't done Florida and they hadn't done Ohio yet. And if Rubio and Kasich would have got out, Cruz might have been able to win those two states. But Rubio decided to stay in. Trump won Florida. And then Kasich won Ohio, but that didn't hurt Trump. It just took away from Cruz. These politicians, it's just like I don't know, I don't even like saying narcissism because it's so cliche, but it's hard for me to say what else is it like that you're so super important in your own mind that you have to do this. Like, does Cuomo think he's Superman and he's the only one that can fix it? I mean, Trump actually comes out and says
I don't think
that.
he thinks he can fix it. I think he enjoys the position of power. I don't think.
Yeah. So there you go. All it is about power. Let me get into power. But the point is that he's not likely to win. So what kind of hubris is there that tells him he's going to win? He couldn't win in the primary.
It could also be, look, I mean, these guys are so narcissistic, they don't care about burning down the house.
Well, that's true too.
Look, the fact that he left in disgrace in 2021 and that he's been haunted by sexual harassment allegations for the past few years. I mean, this is a case of revenge. The fact that he gets out there and tries to run for mayor, given his disgraceful performance during COVID and his disgraceful personal and professional performance with respect to women in the administration, the guy shouldn't be anywhere near a political podium. But he's deluded enough to do it and vengeful enough to burn New York down. But I wonder if these guys, Rubio and Kasich, staying in the race would have had much of a difference. I'll tell you a story from a different perspective. When Gray Davis was more or less kicked out as the governor of California, they had an election, and there were two potential Republican candidates. There was Arnold Schwarzenegger and there was McClintock. Now, McClintock was the principled candidate. When you listen to him talk, he had solutions that I think could have made California a much better place. There wasn't a single Republican pundit out there, and I'm talking conservative Republicans like Michael Medved, guys who are, Prager, all these guys who are in the local news in California, standing for McClintock. They wanted the marquee value of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that was quite independent of what Arnold Schwarzenegger really stood for. So there's a part of me that thinks that irrespective of whether Rubio and Kasich got out, the Republicans still would have gone for the marquee guy, the guy who was the television.
Oh, I don't know. You might be right, Mark, but I don't know. There was a big Never Trump movement at that time. And
precisely because he was the television star.
Yeah, but the fact that there were so many Republicans running split the other demographic, the other votes, in Trump got in, but he was only at like 37-40% early on. I don't know. I mean, it's counterfactual, so who knows? But I do know that they didn't. It couldn't have hurt for them to get out. That's for sure.
True. You're probably right about that. Well, so who knows what's going to happen with the Democratic Party? They are in a moral bind at the moment. So they certainly want to win the mayoral race in New York because it is a very prestigious position, often jumping a stone to other political offices. Certainly one of the most prestigious positions in the United States of America. So they're torn because they have a man here who is overtly a communist and whose economic policies will literally kill the Big Apple in a multitude of ways. Lee says, I might get the bus into town on Wednesday for the sole reason I can wander around in my American Capitalist Party hoodie. There you go. And that American Capitalist Party hoodie has a code on the back of it so that somebody could take a picture of you and find that code and access our merch and the American Capitalist Party website. I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong about that, Ariana,
And how else can they access the American Capitalist Party website?
By going to AmericanCapitalistParty.org, where you can donate, read about our policies, become a member in good standing of the American Capitalist Party. Let's have this movement grow. It deserves to grow. Also, like and subscribe to this station if you like what we're talking about. Even if you don't, do it anyway. And also share it on your social media pages. Oh, it's a QR code. Thank you, Lee. I know she's constantly busting my balls about my wrinkles, about how old I am. About
well, I got to tell you, I didn't know. I didn't know it was the QR code, and for the longest time, people would tell me you got to get the QR code. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like when we were at the Liberty Con, and people are coming by with their phone. I'm like, what the hell is happening? What are they doing? They're scanning their phones and getting all kinds of information. And I had no clue what was going on. So
our esteemed Secretary Ariana says the code leads to the website and then click on shop. If you click on shop, you will get Capitalist Party merch. I suggest you wear it proudly in the world, my friends. Don't worry about any backlash. We got your back. So I want to sort of conclude with this article that it was the final article you sent me from Psychology Today, because I think it's so positive. I think it's a really, really good note to end on before you give us the capitalist thought of the day.
No. Don't start that. I did it Friday.
Did you see what I tried to do?
Yeah, you were sneaky, like Lucifer.
I'm a sneaky guy. Watch out. 7 ways to cope with uncertainty. We're going to just talk about each one briefly because we only have about 12 minutes left.
Can I tell you why I sent this first?
Please do.
Okay, so because it is positive, it is positive, which is a good thing. But I also think it's going to give the audience a hint at the type of things that we're going to be discussing when we get back to your Patreon station when we're doing that show, that these are the type of topics we're going to be discussing, but also because I believe that dealing well with uncertainty is part of the capitalist character that I've talked about in the past. That if we're going to have a thriving, dynamic capitalist society, we need to have people that are not risk averse and that deal with uncertainty okay. Because when people don't deal with uncertainty, oftentimes they try to get it. And one of the ways in which people try to get it is by appealing to the government. But the government ultimately can never provide the certainty that they're looking for. It's just a faux sense of security.
Absolutely. And thank you for reminding me. Yes. At the beginning of September, end of August, we will be restarting my Patreon page again, folks. I was doing a section on the intersection of psychology and philosophy. I was doing it because I thought there was a need for it, not just for me, but for lots of folks out there. Times are so crazy. I feel like we need a way of dealing with the world around us. And so Michael has agreed to restart that with me. And this will be sort of a taste of the things that we're going to talk about to make you aspirational, to make you, as Michael said, not risk averse, anti-fragile, to make you the strong, independent, self-assured person that you deserve to be. We believe that you deserve to be happy, just like I believe I deserve to be happy, and I know Michael believes that he deserves to be happy. And so the value that we hope to contribute to you folks is to help put you on that path to happiness in whatever way we can. So there are 7 self-talk phrases for managing uncertainty. Now, what I loved about these, I'm just going to say it right off the bat. They were completely realistic in the sense that they just grounded you in what was, and they grounded your expectations. So you didn't have outside expectations. There was no delusion in it. It was all about reality, which is what I love. Number 1, whatever information I'm given, I have a choice about what to do next. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, because that's really important.
Well, sure. I think that it's a little, I don't want to say deceptive, because there's no intent to deceive, but whatever happens, I have a choice what to do next. Obviously, that someone might say, what if someone ties you up? In those cases, no. But normally I have a choice in how I'm going to respond to something. So if somebody gives me information, let's say Mark gives me information on how to get rid of my belly fat, right? And it's assuming it's accurate information. I have a choice now, right? Am I willing to put in the effort that it's going to take to do it, to follow the instructions that Mark has given me, or am I going to ignore them? But the information is there, right? It's my choice what to do with it. Now, I might decide, you know what? I can tolerate the belly fat because I enjoy the cookies. And, the trade-off is worth it to me in terms of my own happiness, like you said. But the information is still there. And it's like that with an abundance of information, whether it be, psychological self-help. If you want to, alter your value structure, alter your self-esteem, increase your confidence, all those things are doable, right? But they take an incredible amount of effort. You have to put forth the work. There's no magic bullet. There's no such thing as a free lunch, as Milton Friedman said. So you get the information on what you need to do, like this book right here that I absolutely love, Nathaniel Branden's The Psychology of Self-Esteem. When my friend Brent read that book, I let him borrow it. He got mad at me because I gave it to him because it exposed so many of his weaknesses, and it did the same for me. But ultimately, we benefited from it. But it was our choice to do so. We had the choice: ignore it or learn from it. That's what that means to me.
Exactly, like Rand's ultimate choice, to think or not to think. That is
Yes.
what your free will is. And the choices that you may have may boil down to a less painful choice over a more painful choice. It's not necessarily going to be good or bad, folks. So you have to recognize that fact. And you know what? Recognizing that embraces the uncertainty instead of resists the uncertainty. And I think that's what I've been discovering with a lot of things, that embracing as opposed to resisting is actually the far better thing to do. Number two, the information or result I get could be better or worse than I expect. I like that too. That's embracing uncertainty. It's saying, look, I know that there are things, here's what I can control, my choice. I can control my choice. I can control whether I think or not. What I can't control is the outcome. And the outcome may not be what I expect it to be. It may be worse. It may be better. I may be pleasantly surprised or unpleasantly surprised. This is an important thing to embrace. Oftentimes, uncertainty can lead you to reject that possibility and make you run away from uncertainty as opposed to embracing it. Number three, I can control these actions within the list, but I can't control the outcomes, state, or someone else's reaction. That's a very, very important concept to get down. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I think that is vital, because a lot of times when I'll discuss objectivist ethics with people, for instance, and we talk about, we're trying to act in our own best interest, and somebody will point out, well, what about the guy who lies and gets away with it? You're saying that lying is against your self-interest, but some people get away with it and get what they want. And they'll point out, meanwhile, the guy that tells the truth, sometimes he gets screwed over, or, you live your best life and things still go wrong. And the analogy that I always use is, look, I can exercise all the time, eat healthy, and still die of a heart attack at 42, because there's no guarantees in the human condition, except for death. There's no guarantees. The point is you want to maximize your chance for success. You want to make the best choices that you're capable of making, but you have to understand there's still no guarantees of success, especially, we're talking in capitalism. I might absolutely right now read the market correctly. There's a demand for these cups with Brent McCall's picture on them. Everybody wants them. And I manufacture them. I get them all out and ready to go. And by the time they're ready to go, there's a new trend and everybody hates it. And I lose all my money, despite the fact that I gauged the economic demand properly. I did all my costs, all my expenses. I put in the hard work, and I still fail. That can happen, but that's life. That's not just a function of capitalism. That's a function of life. There's no guarantees that you're going to succeed, but you can put yourself in the best position to succeed.
And that's why I think social systems that pretend that there is only a success, there is only a positive outcome if certain social conditions were present, are false on their face, because it's impossible to control for those things. Which leads me to number four: good decision processes can lead to bad outcomes and vice versa. So again, we're taking into consideration the things one cannot control and only thinking about or worrying about what you can control, and the rest is outside of your control. This is a very important thing to remember as well. Something I need to keep reminding myself, given that I live in a very, very unpredictable universe. The Hollywood world is very, very unpredictable. It's a vagabond life for the best of us, right? And you can think you're in an inner circle and discover that you're not necessarily there. And all the work that you've spent a lot of time building up could potentially go away. And you can become irrelevant as far as the entertainment business is concerned. That's not within your control necessarily, and to get bollocksed up by it is to cause yourself unnecessary agitation and pain over things you can't control. Number 5 is I can control X today, but I can't control Y today. I like that. I can an example of this is I can control whether I wash my sheets or read to my children today, but how long the results of my medical test will take, but not how long the results of my medical test will take or what they will be. So once again, that's almost a Stoic kind of thing. One of the things I like about Stoicism is that it says, worry about what you can control and don't worry about what you can't control.
Ayn Rand loved the serenity prayer, even though it's a prayer and even though it invokes God. But I think the principle there is wonderful. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If we just get rid of the first part and it says, I hope to, you replace, God grant me with I hope to. I think it's wonderful. I think that's a very important lesson to learn in life, is what we can control and not control. Also, I think a good thing to differentiate is between what I want and what I need. I mean, that's not in there, but I think it's a very important lesson to learn, that just because I want something doesn't mean I need it. And also what I deserve and don't deserve. Just because I want something or need something does not mean I put in the work to deserve it.
Or even just because you deserve it doesn't necessarily mean you'll get it.
That too. Yeah, absolutely.
Hard pill to swallow, folks, but swallowing it will make you a more effective human being. And what I mean by more effective human being is more in tune with yourself, more happy, more capable of dealing with what life gives you. Number 6 is I can choose to make no new mistakes, or I can choose to make progress on my goals, but I can't choose both. Indeed. Right? You cannot play it safe and hunker down and do nothing because you fear mistakes and make progress. It's impossible. You have to go out there. You have to be willing to fall. You have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to look like a fool. You have to be willing to take rejection. You have to be willing to fail. All of those things are going to make you stronger. Nietzsche said, that which does not kill me makes me stronger. Sometimes I think that which does not kill you actually does hurt you and make you weaker. But there are times when it does actually strengthen your character. And the last and 7th one is, my biggest achievements have contained many mistakes. This is true. Every successful person I've ever talked to were risk takers. Every successful person I've ever known were risk takers. Every successful person I've ever known who looks perfect on the outside makes mistakes all the time. They simply do not see themselves the way you see them from the outside, because you see Eddie Van Halen, when he played the guitar on stage and how flawless and amazing he was. He was a virtuoso. You don't see him experimenting with sound and building guitars and trying to figure out how, all the flub ups that he made in the studio while experimenting to become the great guitarist that he was. So my capitalist thought for the day, folks, it has to do with this. I think the healthiest psychological place to be is a place like this, wherein you understand what you can control and you leave what you can't control alone. And when you live in a free society, one in which other men are not under the legal right to use compulsion against you, your freedom to choose is wider and wider and wider, which means your capacity to achieve your potential becomes that much greater. And that's the kind of society we want to build, folks. An aspirational society, a society of risk takers, a society that pushes forward, not necessarily unafraid, but with total courage and confidence in the fact that even if they fail, they can land on their feet and they can still take care of themselves. A society built of self-sufficient individuals, not dependence upon a political parasitic class. That's the world that we see for all of us, folks. And in the meantime, tomorrow we will be here, same bat time, same bat place, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Like and subscribe before you leave today. Thank you, Lee, for the compliment, by the way. She said I would always be relevant to her, wrinkles and all. She didn't say wrinkles and all, but
I threw that in. Just so you know, everyone knows, Diego asked, I posted the articles we've discussed today to X, so you can go find them there.
You go read the articles, folks, and you have 23 hours to check your premises. So I want you to do a lot of premise checking and come back tomorrow with a fresh mind and an aspirational attitude. And let's win. Tomorrow, let's win. Not the way Trump wins. Let's win the way capitalists win. Spiritually, materially, in every way possible. Thank you, folks, for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.